Security camera footage. May 14, 2023, 11:47 p.m. Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. The camera is mounted above the elevator bank on the 7th floor of the Paraíso del Mar Resort, and it captures only 23 seconds of footage. In the frame, you see Sarah Mitchell, 29, doing something completely normal, walking down the hallway toward room 712, her honeymoon suite. She's wearing a white resort robe over a black swimsuit, hair still damp from what the timestamp suggests was a late-night swim. Nothing looks wrong at first, but watch closely. Notice how at the 4-second mark, she glances back over her shoulder. Not casually, deliberately, checking if anyone followed her from the pool. Notice at the 8-second mark, she slows her pace as she approaches her door. Most people speed up when they're almost home. Sarah slows down, hesitates for exactly 3 seconds with her key card in her hand. Notice at the 11-second mark, she looks at the door next to hers, room 714, holds her gaze there for 2 seconds, then looks at her own door. At the 14-second mark, she makes a decision. Instead of entering room 712 where her husband of 6 days is sleeping, she knocks softly on room 714. The door opens immediately, like someone was waiting. At exactly 11:47 and 18 seconds p.m., Sarah Mitchell steps inside room 714. The door closes behind her. And this is what makes this footage different from every other clip you've seen. The person who opened that door wasn't staying in that room. He was the one who had the master key to every room in the resort. That footage was recorded on night 4 of Sarah and David Mitchell's 7-night honeymoon. 72 hours later, one of them would be dead in that same hallway. The other would be in police custody, claiming self-defense. And the resort manager who owned room 714? He would vanish completely, taking with him the only evidence that could prove what really happened. Most people think this is a simple story. Cheating wife, jealous husband, crime of passion. That makes sense, right? Woman has affair on her honeymoon. Husband finds out. Confrontation turns violent. Someone dies. That's what Mexican police thought for the first 8 hours. That's what American media reported for the first 3 days. That's what the prosecution argued for 11 weeks in court. Wrong. Because the person found dead in that hallway wasn't the resort manager. And the weapon used to kill them wasn't brought to Mexico in anyone's luggage. It was already waiting in room 714, placed there 6 days before Sarah and David Mitchell ever boarded their flight from Portland. And when you see what investigators found on Carlos Mendoza's laptop, 247 screenshots spanning 11 weeks, you'll understand this wasn't a honeymoon affair. This was a hunt. This is the story of how an $847 all-inclusive vacation package, a resort manager with a secret history that 3 hotels chose to ignore, and a marriage that looked perfect on Instagram became a crime scene that would expose an entire industry's darkest secret. When you see the rehearsal video recorded at 1:11 a.m. while a body was still warm in the hallway, you'll realize someone was directing this from the beginning. When you hear what Carlos told Sarah on that recording, you'll understand why she repeated her story exactly the same way, word for word, in 3 separate police interviews. And when you learn what was found on that USB drive that arrived at the FBI field office 14 months later, you'll realize Sarah and David Mitchell were never the only targets. May 8, 2023. Cancun International Airport, 2:34 p.m. Sarah and David Mitchell clear customs carrying 2 large suitcases and wearing matching just married t-shirts that Sarah's mother bought them as a joke. They've been married for exactly 6 days. The wedding was May 2nd in Portland, a Tuesday ceremony because weekend venues were too expensive. They spent their wedding night at a Holiday Inn near the airport, flew out the next morning on a 6 a.m. flight because it saved them $340 per ticket. David is 31, works in commercial real estate for a firm that manages strip malls and medical plazas. He makes $78,000 per year, drives a 2018 Honda Accord, has a 401k, pays his credit card in full every month. The kind of man who irons his shirts on Sunday nights and keeps his receipts organized in labeled folders. Safe, stable, reliable. Sarah is 29, works as a dental hygienist at a practice in Beaverton. She makes $52,000 per year. drives a 2016 Mazda 3, has $18,000 in student loan debt that she's paying down at $380 per month. She's been at the same practice for 4 years, gets good reviews from patients, shows up on time, rarely calls in sick. The kind of employee who stays late when someone needs an emergency appointment. They booked this honeymoon through a discount travel website that promised luxury for less. 7 nights at Paraiso del Mar Resort, all-inclusive, ocean view room. Total cost, $1,694 for both of them. David wanted Italy. Sarah wanted Bora Bora. They compromised on Mexico because it was the only place they could afford that felt like a real honeymoon. Neither of them researched Paraiso del Mar beyond the photos on the booking site. If they had checked TripAdvisor, they would have seen the 2.8-star average. If they had read the reviews, they would have found 47 complaints in the past year about security, staff behavior, and things that happened in the night that management refused to address. But the photos looked beautiful and it was all-inclusive and they could actually afford it, and that felt like enough. The shuttle from the airport takes 90 minutes. Sarah posts a video to Instagram at 3:17 p.m. View from the van window, palm trees and ocean, caption, honeymoon mode activated, palm tree 2 hearts. The post gets 340 likes in the first hour. One of those likes comes from an account with no profile picture. Created 4 days earlier, username CM_Paraiso 2023. The account follows only one person, Sarah Mitchell. They arrive at Paraiso del Mar at 4:11 p.m. The resort is massive, U-shaped, 347 rooms spread across 8 floors. The lobby smells like chlorine and artificial coconut. There's a pool bar where a bachelorette party is already drunk and screaming. There's a family with 3 crying children trying to manage luggage and a stroller. There's a couple in their 60s renewing their vows, wearing matching white linen outfits. And there's a man behind the front desk wearing a crisp white shirt with a name tag that says Carlos Mendoza, resort manager. He's 34 years old, approximately 5 feet 10 inches, dark hair slicked back, trimmed beard, the kind of smile that looks practiced in a mirror. When Sarah and David approach, he looks up from his computer and makes immediate eye contact with Sarah. Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, welcome to Paraiso del Mar. Congratulations on your marriage. His English is perfect, barely accented. He types something into the computer, frowns slightly, types again. I see you booked our standard ocean view room. Let me see what I can do for you. He types for 11 seconds. Sarah is looking around the lobby. David is checking his phone. Neither of them is paying attention to what Carlos is actually doing, which is manually changing their room assignment from 623 to 712. Good news, Carlos says, smiling wider now. I'm upgrading you to our premium ocean view suite on the 7th floor, room 712. Better view, more space, and it's right near the elevator, so you won't have to walk far after a long day. He prints 2 key cards, hands them across the desk. His fingers brush Sarah's hand when she takes hers. If you need anything during your stay, anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask for me. I'm here to make sure your honeymoon is perfect. David thanks him. Sarah smiles politely, already looking toward the elevators, ready to get to their room and start their vacation. Carlos watches them walk away. He watches until the elevator doors close. Then he opens a different window on his computer, pulls up the 7th floor layout, and confirms what he already knows. Room 712 is directly next to room 714. The room that's officially listed as manager's office and storage. The room that hasn't appeared in the resort's available inventory for 8 months. The room where Carlos Mendoza takes women when he needs privacy. He closes the window. He processes 3 more check-ins. At 4:47 p.m., he texts a number saved in his phone as maintenance. She's here. Room 712. Starting tonight. The response comes back in 4 seconds. Confirmed. Device placed. In room 714, hidden behind a desk lamp that matches the one in every other room in the resort, a small audio recording device begins its cycle. Voice activated. Battery life, 14 days. Storage capacity, 200 hours. Carlos has been preparing for this moment for 11 weeks. Sarah and David have been married for 6 days. In 72 hours, one of them will be dead. And Carlos Mendoza will have exactly what he planned for: control over what everyone believes happened. They talked for 37 minutes. Pool surveillance cameras captured the entire conversation. Body language expert Dr. Rebecca Thornton analyzed frame by frame. Her report reads like a manipulation manual. 11:42 a.m. Sarah's posture shifts from closed to open, surprise to pleasure. 11:43 a.m. Carlos maintains 4 feet distance. Non-threatening. Practiced. 11:47 a.m. Sarah laughs. First genuine laugh in 4 days of footage. Touches her hair. 11:52 a.m. Carlos moves 8 inches closer. Sarah doesn't move away. 12:04 p.m. Sarah looks at wedding ring. Touches it. Looks back at Carlos. 12:08 p.m. Carlos touches her hand. 3 seconds. She doesn't pull away. 12:11 p.m. Carlos hands her something. Room key to 714. She hesitates 4 seconds. Takes it. 12:14 p.m. Sarah stares at her bag for 11 minutes and 18 seconds. Dr. Thornton's conclusion. Textbook grooming. He established history, created connection, provided means for contact. Her hesitation shows internal conflict. This wasn't clear-headed decision-making. This was a woman being led by someone who knew exactly what he was doing. Sarah Elizabeth Chun, born March 15, 1994, Portland, Oregon. Only child. Father Robert, software engineer from Taiwan. Mother Linda, nurse practitioner. Beaverton suburb, B+ student. Oregon State 2016, dental hygiene. $31,000 student loans. Responsible. Kind. Remembered birthdays, brought cookies to work, split checks fairly. But her journal, found later in Portland, tells a different story. October 2019, 3 months after Puerto Vallarta. I can't stop thinking about him. Just 3 days. We didn't exchange numbers. But the way he looked at me, like I was the only person in the world. I know it wasn't real. But God, it felt real. March 2020. Everyone I meet feels boring compared to something I can barely remember. I'm 26 and hung up on a 3-day fling with a man whose last name I don't even know. November 2021, 1 week after meeting David. His name is David Mitchell. He's nice, stable, has a 401k. Exactly what I should want. Maybe that's enough. Maybe I need to grow up and stop waiting for something that doesn't exist. January 2023, 2 weeks after David proposed at Crater Lake. I said yes. Everyone is so happy. Mom cried. But all I keep thinking is, this is it. This is my life now. And I don't know if I'm ready. But everyone is excited and I can't back out now. Can I? She didn't. Wedding May 2nd, 2023. Tuesday because Saturday venues cost $8,000 to $15,000. Botanical Garden. 140 guests. White roses, eucalyptus. Off-the-rack dress, $1,200. Buffet dinner. Beer and wine bar. First dance. Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran because it was safe. Sarah cried during vows. Everyone assumed happy tears. Maid of honor Emily Park would later tell investigators. When she said, I do, she looked at me. She looked terrified. Reception ended 9 p.m. Holiday in near airport. Sex for first time as husband and wife. Sarah's journal 3 days later. Entry read aloud in court. It was fine. He was gentle. He kept asking if I was okay. And I kept saying yes because what else was I supposed to say? That I felt like I was watching it happen to someone else. First 3 honeymoon days. Beach, restaurants, photos, couples massage that cost $180 and felt like waste. Sex twice, both nights, David initiated. Both times Sarah described as going through the motions. Day 3, May 11th, David booked fishing trip without asking. Sarah hated fishing, hated boats. But he'd paid $240 deposit, was excited. She smiled, said she'd relax poolside. That night, Instagram post 8:43 p.m. Photo with David. Lucky girl ring red heart. 892 likes. 1 from CM_Pariso 2023. 10:17 p.m. Balcony. Scrolling Instagram. Wedding photos, honeymoon photos, perfect looking life. Felt nothing. Empty. Trapped. Typed in journal. Is this what the rest of my life looks like? I don't think I can do this for 50 years. Deleted without saving. David asked if coming to bed. They had sex. He slept in 6 minutes. Sarah lay awake until 2:18 a.m. wondering if this feeling ever goes away. May 12th, 8:30 a.m. David left fishing. Sarah stayed bed until 9:45. Room service, 34-minute shower. 11:18 a.m. Changed into swimsuit, headed to infinity pool. 11:34 a.m. Man in resort polo approached. Is this seat taken? She looked up. Manager from check-in. No, go ahead. 3 minutes silence. You're in room 712, right? How's everything? Great, thank you. Another pause. You look familiar. Have you stayed with us before? No, first time in Cabo. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. Silence. Sarah went back to book. But thinking now, he did look familiar. 11:42 a.m. Wait, I figured it out. Puerto Vallarta. Summer 2019. Sunset Royale Resort. Sarah's heart stopped. Oh my God. Carlos. He smiled. You remember. And everything that happened next. Affair, murder, trial. Started that exact moment when Sarah Mitchell remembered what it felt like to be wanted by someone other than her husband. Carlos Javier Mendoza. Born June 8, 1989. Mérida, Mexico. Working-class family. Father drove taxi, mother cleaned hotels. 2-room apartment, water 3 days a week. Carlos understood early. If you want different life, take it from people who have what you don't. Beautiful child. Big eyes, perfect smile. By 7, working tourist areas with mother. By 12, hotel beaches. By 16, first resort job. Learned, women on vacation were lonely. Even ones with husbands. First affair. Woman from Dallas, 31, 5th anniversary trip. Husband golfed all day. She was bored. Carlos brought drinks, listened. 3 days later, 2 a.m. beach meetings. She left crying. Gave him $500, made him promise to remember her. He forgot her name in a week, but remembered the pattern. 18 years, 11 resorts across Mexico. Same pattern. Identify target, American 25 to 40, relationship with cracks. Make contact, build connection, offer escape, take what you want, move on. But 3 times it went wrong. 2014, Playa del Carmen. Monica, 28, Phoenix with fiancé. Week-long affair. She wanted to cancel wedding, stay with Carlos. He panicked. She was serious, he wasn't. Told her vacation fun. Forget him. She threatened. Reporting him. He claimed she forced herself on him. Resort settled $5,000. NDA. Carlos kept job. 2016, Cancun. Sophie, 31, Toronto with boyfriend. 3-day affair. She loved him, wanted leaving boyfriend. Carlos encouraged, learned to control narrative. Sophie broke up day 4. Boyfriend confronted Carlos. Resort settled $12,000. NDAs. Carlos fired but hired Tulum 3 weeks later. 2018, Tulum. Emily, 26, Manchester, honeymoon. Carlos pursued 6 days. She resisted, gave in. Husband found out, confronted them. Carlos claimed Emily was aggressor. She confirmed to protect herself. Resort settled $8,000. Emily divorced 4 months later. Carlos moved to Puerto Vallarta, where he met Sarah Chen, July 2019. She was 25, girls trip, staying Sunset Royale where Carlos worked beach activities. He noticed, single while friends had boyfriends, stayed at bar after friends slept, laughed too hard, drank too much, seemed trying to prove something. Approached day 2. By day 3, sleeping together. Easy. She was sweet, open, eager to believe this was real. Last day asked if stay in touch. He said of course never gave real number. She left. He assumed never see again. Wrong. 4 years later, January 2023, Carlos scrolling Instagram. Algorithm showed suggested post. Saracen_29. Engagement photos. Portland. Woman in white dress. Man in gray suit. I said yes. Ring can't wait to marry my best friend on May 2nd, 2023. He stared. Knew that face. Clicked profile. Found 2019 throwback. 4 girls on Puerto Vallarta beach. He remembered. Saracen. The sweet one who looked at him like he was everything. She was marrying boring guy in gray suit who'd never make her feel the way Carlos had. Wedding date. May 2nd. For months away. Something clicked. Not love, Carlos didn't do love. Something darker. The idea that he'd had her once, and now someone else was taking her. That felt like losing something that belonged to him. Created new Instagram. CM_Paraiso 2023. Followed Sarah. She didn't notice. 1,847 followers. He started watching. Saved every wedding post. Studied every photo with David. Analyzed every caption. Looking for cracks. Looking for doubt. Found them. January 14th. Sarah and David at venue. Found our perfect spot. Sparkles, but Sarah's looking down in photo. February 9th. Wedding dress shopping. The one? Bride with veil ? Not exclamation. March 22nd. Bachelorette party. 8 photos. Sarah looking away in 6. April 14th. Invitations. Getting real now love letter. No heart. No excitement. She wasn't sure. Going through with it because you do when you've told everyone. Booked venue, sent invitations. But she wasn't sure. January 19th, Carlos decided. Quit Tulum. Applied 6 Cabo resorts targeting discount sites where cheap honeymoons book. Paraiso Del Mar hired him. Started February 1st. Requested 7th floor. Identified room 714. Officially office. Barely used. Perfect. April 23rd. Booking came through. Sarah Mitchell and David Mitchell. Honeymoon. May 8th to 15th. Portland. Sarah Chun became Sarah Mitchell. Wedding happened. Now coming to him. Carlos opened new document. Paraiso plan. Timeline. Day 1 to 2. Let them settle. Observe. Day 3. Initial contact. Plant seed. Day 4 to 5. Escalation. Remind her. Day 6. Decision point. Day 7. Resolution. Under resolution. She chooses me or nobody gets her. He didn't mean it as threat. Not consciously. Just how his brain worked. Women he wanted belonged to him. If they tried to belong to someone else, that was problem needing solving. Saved document. Closed laptop. 96 days until check-in. 100 days until David Mitchell would be dead. Carlos Mendoza would disappear with evidence of at least 8 other women he'd targeted exactly the same way. May 12, 2023. 12:25 p.m. Sarah Mitchell sits by the infinity pool, alone, staring at the room key card in her bag. The key to room 714. She's been staring at it for 11 minutes. Around her, resort life continues. Children screaming in the shallow end. A bachelorette party ordering their 4th round of margaritas. A couple arguing quietly in Spanish about whose fault it is they forgot the sunscreen. Sarah picks up her phone. Opens her text thread with Emily. Types, "I think I'm about to do something really stupid." She deletes it without sending. Types again. "Do you remember Puerto Vallarta? That guy I told you about." Deletes it. Types, "I'm not happy." Stares at those 3 words for 43 seconds. Then deletes them too. At 12:38 p.m., David calls. She jumps, almost drops her phone. "Hey, how's the fishing?" David's voice is excited. Happy. "It's amazing. I caught a 40-pound yellowfin. They're gonna cook it for us at dinner tonight." "How's the pool?" "It's great. Relaxing." "Good. You sound weird. You okay?" "Yeah, just tired. Sunday. Drink water. I'll be back around 2:30. Love you." "Love you too." She hangs up. She does not love him. She knows that now, sitting by this pool, holding a room key that isn't hers. She doesn't love David Mitchell. She probably never did. She loved the idea of him, the stability, the safety, the way her parents looked at him like he was the answer to a question they'd been asking since she was 16. But love? Real love? No. And the worst part is, she knew it on the wedding day. She knew it when she was walking down the aisle. She knew it when she said, "I do." She knew it every single time David touched her and she felt nothing. She stayed because leaving felt impossible. Because everyone was so happy for them. Because what would she tell people? "Sorry, I changed my mind. I wasted your time and my parents' money because I'm too broken to know what I want." At 1:47 p.m., she's still at the pool when David returns, sunburned and grinning, holding his phone full of photos of a fish she doesn't care about. They go back to room 712 together. He showers. She lies on the bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the room key card in her pocket like it's burning a hole through her skin. That night at dinner, David talks about the fishing trip for 47 minutes. Sarah nods, says wow and that's amazing at the right times, smiles when he shows her the same photos again. They eat the yellowfin he caught. She can barely taste it. At 9:34 p.m., back in the room, David tries to initiate sex. She lets him. It lasts 11 minutes. Afterward, he falls asleep with his arm around her. She waits until his breathing is deep and steady. Then she slips out from under his arm, goes to the bathroom, closes the door. She takes the room key card out of her shorts pocket where she'd hidden it, turns it over in her hands. Room 714. She could throw it away. Flush it down the toilet. Forget this whole thing. Go back to bed. Wake up tomorrow and be Sarah Mitchell, wife, dental hygienist, the girl who makes sensible choices. Or, she puts the key back in her pocket, opens the bathroom door. David is snoring softly. She gets back into bed. At 11:47 p.m., she's still awake. May 13th, 2023. 10:52 p.m. Sarah tells David she's going to the pool for a late swim. He's half asleep, watching something on his tablet, tells her to have fun. She puts on her black swimsuit, her white resort robe, takes her key card. Not the key to 712. The key to 714. She walks to the elevator, rides it down to the lobby, goes to the pool. It's empty except for one couple in the hot tub. She gets in the water, swims for 49 minutes. Not because she wants to swim, but because she needs her hair to be wet, needs to look like she's actually been swimming when she goes back upstairs. At 11:41 p.m., she gets out, wraps herself in her robe, takes the elevator back to the 7th floor. The hallway is empty, silent except for the hum of the ice machine and a TV playing in one of the rooms. She walks toward room 712, slows down as she approaches. Her hand is shaking when she pulls out the key card. She looks at her door. She looks at the door next to it. Room 714. She thinks about David, asleep inside 712, trusting her. She thinks about her wedding vows 6 days old. She thinks about the rest of her life, stretching out ahead of her, 50 years of feeling nothing. She thinks about Carlos, about Puerto Vallarta, about the way he looked at her today like she was the only woman in the world. At 11:47 and 14 seconds p.m., she makes her decision. She knocks on 714. The door opens immediately. Carlos is standing there in jeans and a white t-shirt, barefoot, like he's been waiting. He has, "I wasn't sure you'd come," he says. "I wasn't either. You can still leave. No pressure." But they both know she's not leaving. She steps inside. The door closes behind her. Room 714 is smaller than 712. One bed, a desk, a chair. No ocean view. There's a bottle of wine on the desk, already open. 2 glasses. "I remembered you like red," Carlos says. She doesn't remember ever telling him that. But he's right. They talk for 23 minutes. He pours wine. She drinks it too fast. He asks about her life, her job, her friends. Doesn't ask about David. Doesn't ask about the wedding. He's too smart for that. Instead, he talks about Puerto Vallarta. Specific details she'd forgotten. the bar where they met, the song that was playing, the way she laughed when he tried to teach her Spanish. He's building a bridge back to that version of herself, the one who felt free and wanted and alive. At 12:18 a.m., he moves closer to her on the bed where they're sitting. At 12:19 a.m., he kisses her. She kisses him back. At 1:21 a.m., she leaves room 714. Her hair is messy. Her robe is tied wrong. She looks directly at the security camera for 2 seconds, and her expression is impossible to read. She enters room 712. David is asleep. She gets into bed. Doesn't sleep. May 13, 2023. Sarah is different today. Quieter. David notices, asks if something's wrong. She says she didn't sleep well. He suggests they do something relaxing. They spend the day at the beach. She barely speaks. Her phone vibrates 14 times between 2:17 p.m. and 6:43 p.m. She doesn't check it in front of David. When he's in the bathroom, she reads the messages. All from a number she doesn't recognize. Thinking about last night. Can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again? Tonight. Sarah? You okay? Talk to me. She doesn't respond. But she doesn't delete them either. At 10:47 p.m., Sarah tells David she's not feeling well. Going to take a bath, go to bed early. He says okay, he'll watch TV in the sitting area. At 11:23 p.m., Sarah comes out of the bathroom in her robe. Tells David she's going to get ice and a snack. Takes her room key. Leaves her phone charging on the nightstand. Intentional. Can't have David seeing those messages if he picks it up. At 11:26 p.m., security footage shows Sarah entering room 714. The audio device Carlos planted records everything. Carlos? You came back. Sarah. I shouldn't be here. Carlos. But you are. Sarah. This is crazy. I'm married. 6 days married. Carlos. To the wrong man. Sarah. You don't know him. Carlos. I know you. I knew you 4 years ago and I know you now. You're not happy. Sarah. Crying. How did you know I'd be here? At this resort. Carlos. I didn't. This is fate. He's lying. But she wants to believe it. They talk for 2 hours and 17 minutes. The recording captures moments of conversation, moments of silence, moments of physical intimacy. And then at 1:31 a.m., Sarah. I don't know what to do. Carlos. Leave him. Sarah. Just like that. Carlos. Why not? You don't love him. He'll get over it. Sarah. What about after? What happens with us? Carlos. Anything you want. You can stay here. I'll help you figure it out. I've done this before. Sarah. Done what before? Carlos. Helped women leave bad situations. Sarah. David's not a bad guy. He's just, Carlos. Not right for you. I get it. At 1:43 a.m., Sarah leaves. The camera shows visible distress on her face. Possible tears. May 14, 2023. Morning. The fight. A maid cleaning the room next door hears it through the wall. David. You've been distant this whole trip. Sarah. I'm tired, David. I'm on vacation. David. We're on our honeymoon. Sarah. Pause. Well, maybe that's the problem. David. What does that mean? Sarah. Crying. I don't know. I don't know. They don't leave the room until 2:34 p.m. When they finally go to the pool, they sit in separate chairs. Barely speak. At 4:19 p.m., Sarah says she's going to shower. David stays at the pool. But Sarah doesn't go back to 712. She goes to 714. The audio device captures. Carlos? You told him. Sarah. Not exactly. We fought. I think he knows something's wrong. Carlos. You need to be clear with him. Tonight. Sarah. And say what? Sorry. I don't want to be married anymore. I want to be with the resort manager I had a fling with 4 years ago. Carlos. Say you made a mistake. Say you're not ready. Say anything. But say it. Sarah. Then what? Carlos. Then you're free. Sarah. Free to what? Run away with you. Carlos. If you want. Sarah. Pause. Do you actually want that? Or is this just, I don't know what this is. Carlos. I want you. I've wanted you since Puerto Vallarta. That's why I'm here. Another lie. But she believes it. Sarah. Okay. Carlos. Okay what? Sarah. I'll tell him. Tonight. At 7:11 p.m. Sarah and David eat dinner in silence. At 9:34 p.m., back in room 712, Sarah tries to start the conversation 3 times. Each time, David interrupts, talking about tomorrow's plans, oblivious. At 10:52 p.m., she gives up trying to find the right words. Just says it. David, I want a divorce. He laughs, thinks she's joking. When he realizes she's serious, he asks why. She can't tell him the truth. Says she made a mistake. Says she's not ready for marriage. Says she's sorry. He doesn't believe her. Thinks it's honeymoon stress. Tells her to sleep on it. They'll talk in the morning. At 11:38 p.m., Sarah leaves the room. Says she needs air. David doesn't stop her. At 11:47 p.m., security footage shows Sarah knocking on room 714 for the 3rd time. The audio device records, Sarah. I told him I want a divorce. Carlos. What did he say? Sarah. He thinks I'm crazy. He thinks it's stress. Carlos. Come here. Sounds of movement. Kissing. Sarah. What happens now? Carlos. You stay with me tonight. We'll figure out tomorrow. Sarah. Just like that. Carlos. Just like that. I'll take care of everything. At 12:52 a.m., there's a knock on the door. Both freeze. Carlos. Whispered. Did he follow you? Sarah whispered. I don't know. The knock comes again. Louder. Then a voice. Sarah? Are you in there? David found her. At 12:53 and 11 seconds a.m., Carlos opens the door to room 714. David Mitchell is standing in the hallway. He sees Sarah inside, sitting on the bed, wearing only Carlos's t-shirt. The audio device captures his exact words. What the fuck is this? Sarah starts crying. Carlos steps between them. Man, listen, let me explain. David. Explain? We've been married for 6 days. Sarah. David, I tried to tell you. David. Tell me what? That you're fucking the resort manager. Carlos. Hey. Don't talk to her like that. David. Don't talk to her? You're sleeping with my wife. The argument escalates. Sarah is screaming. David is shouting. Carlos is trying to calm them. Neighbors will later report hearing the commotion, but no one calls security. This is a resort. People fight. At 12:56 and 22 seconds a.m., David lunges at Carlos. Carlos sidesteps. David crashes into the desk. The lamp, marble approximately 8 pounds, falls to the floor. David picks it up. Sarah screams. David swings the lamp at Carlos. Misses. Carlos grabs David's wrist. They struggle. At 12:56 and 34 seconds a.m., the audio device goes silent, either knocked over or destroyed. The next piece of audio doesn't come until 2:34 a.m., when Sarah calls 911 and tells them her husband is dead. May 17, 2023. 2:34 a.m. The 911 call comes from a cell phone registered to Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell, located on the 7th floor of Paraiso del Mar Resort. The call connects to emergency services in Cabo San Lucas. Duration: 4 minutes and 17 seconds. The recording would later be played in court 23 times. Every jury member would hear it. Some would cry. The dispatcher speaks first, in Spanish. Emergencias. ¿Cuál es su emergencia? Sarah's voice is screaming, hyperventilating, barely intelligible. He's dead. Oh my God. He's dead. Please, you have to send someone. The dispatcher switches to English, her voice trained to remain calm. Ma'am, I need you to slow down. Who is dead? My husband. David. There's so much blood. Oh God. There's so much blood. Where are you located? Paraiso del Mar Resort. 7th floor. I don't know the room number. 712. The hallway outside 712. Okay, stay with me. What happened to your husband? Sarah's breathing is ragged, interrupted by what sounds like vomiting. He attacked us. He went crazy and... Who attacked you, ma'am? Is the attacker still there? No. David is. He's the one who's... The words dissolve into incomprehensible sobbing. Ma'am, I need you to tell me clearly. Is your husband the one who attacked you? Or did someone attack your husband? David attacked me. He found me with Carlos and he was going to kill me. Who is Carlos? The resort manager. He was trying to stop David and... Oh God. His head. I can see. More vomiting sounds. The dispatcher continues. Methodical. Is your husband breathing? I don't know. There's so much blood I can't. I need you to check if he's breathing. Can you do that for me? 18 seconds of silence. Then, no. He's not breathing. His eyes are open, but he's not. Oh God, oh God, oh God. Okay, help is on the way. Stay on the line with me. Are you injured? My face, he hit me. My face hurts. Did your husband hit you? Yes. He was trying to kill me. Carlos stopped him. Where is Carlos now? A pause. 3 seconds. Then, I don't know. He ran. He told me to call 911 and then he ran. Which direction did he go? I don't know. I couldn't. Everything happened so fast. Okay, stay where you are. Police and medical are on the way. Do not touch anything. Do not move your husband. Just stay on the line. Is David? Can they save him? The dispatcher doesn't answer that question directly. They'll do everything they can. How long ago did this happen? Another pause. Longer this time. 5 seconds. I don't know. Maybe 10 minutes? I don't know. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. That specific answer would become critical later. Because the audio recording device in room 714, the one that went silent at 12:56 and 34 seconds a.m., proves that 10 minutes is a lie. The incident happened at 12:56 a.m. The 911 call came at 2:34 a.m. That's not 10 minutes. That's 1 hour and 38 minutes. What was Sarah doing for 98 minutes before she called for help? Police arrive at 2:40 a.m. 6 minutes response time. 2 municipal police officers, Miguel Ruiz and Juana Santos, both in their 30s, both with less than 5 years on the job, neither prepared for what they find on the 7th floor. The hallway is bright, fluorescent lights humming, the ice machine rumbling, and in the space between rooms 712 and 714, David Mitchell is lying face up on the carpet, eyes open and fixed, a pool of blood spreading beneath his head in a shape that looks almost like wings. Sarah Mitchell is sitting on the floor approximately 11 feet away, her back against the wall, her white resort robe soaked red, her face showing visible bruising on the left cheek, split lip, eyes unfocused. When Officer Ruiz approaches, she doesn't look at him, just stares at her hands, which are covered in blood. Officer Santos checks David for pulse, finds none. She radios for medical examiner and crime scene unit. Officer Ruiz kneels next to Sarah, asks if she can stand. Sarah nods but doesn't move. He helps her to her feet. She's shaking so violently her teeth are chattering despite the hallway being 74 degrees. Ma'am, I need to ask you some questions. Can you tell me what happened? Sarah's voice is a whisper. He tried to kill me. Carlos saved me. David wouldn't stop. Carlos had to. He had to hit him. Where is Carlos now? I don't know. He ran. When did he run? Right after it happened. Sarah nods. But the timeline doesn't work. If Carlos ran immediately after the incident, why did it take 98 minutes for Sarah to call 911? Officer Santos begins photographing the scene with her phone while they wait for the crime scene unit. The photos show David Mitchell, 31 years old, wearing navy blue pajama pants and a gray t-shirt with Portland Trail Blazers logo. Position: supine, arms at sides, legs straight. Head tilted slightly to the right. Blood pooling from apparent head trauma. Soaking into beige hallway carpet in a circular pattern approximately 4 feet in diameter. Weapon: marble desk lamp, base approximately 8 inches wide, 8 pounds, found 11 feet from body, lying on its side. The base is covered in blood and what appears to be hair and tissue. The lampshade is missing, later found inside room 714, undamaged. Blood spatter pattern, concentrated around victim's head, with cast-off spatter on the wall above and to the right, suggesting at least 3 impacts from a swinging motion. Some blood spatter on the door to room 714, approximately 5 feet high, consistent with medium-velocity impact. Additional evidence visible in initial photos. Sarah's resort robe, blood-soaked. Small blood smears on the wall near where Sarah is sitting, hand-shaped, suggesting she touched the wall while sliding down to sitting position. No blood trail between Sarah's position and David's body, suggesting she didn't move after sitting down. Medical examiner arrives at 3:17 a.m. Dr. Ramon Herrera, 52 years old, has been doing this job for 19 years. He's seen 1,847 bodies. This one, he'll later testify, was immediately suspicious. He examines David without moving him. Takes body temperature, 94.3 degrees Fahrenheit. Ambient temperature, 74 degrees. Rough time of death estimate, between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. He notes this verbally to the officers. If death occurred around 1 a.m. and Sarah called 911 at 2:34 a.m., that's consistent with her 10 minutes claim being wildly inaccurate. Dr. Herrera examines the head wounds for distinct impact sites. One on the right temple, one on the right parietal bone, one on the back of the skull, one on the left parietal bone. He notes verbally, the impact to the back of the skull is problematic. Officer Ruiz asks why. Because if this was self-defense, if the victim was attacking and the defender struck back, you'd expect frontal injuries. Possibly side injuries if the victim was turning. But a blow to the back of the head suggests the victim was facing away or already down. Sarah, still sitting against the wall, starts crying harder. Crime scene unit arrives at 3:44 a.m. For technicians begin processing the scene. They photograph everything, measure everything, collect everything. Findings: room 714 interior, bed unmade, sheets disturbed. 2 wine glasses on desk, both containing red wine residue. 1 glass has lipstick mark consistent with Sarah's lipstick. Fingerprint analysis later confirms both glasses were handled by Sarah and Carlos. Clothing on floor: men's jeans, men's white t-shirt, women's black swimsuit, women's white resort robe, different from the bloody one Sarah is wearing. Bathroom: 2 damp towels. Shower stall shows evidence of recent use. Most critical: on the desk where the lamp had been sitting, there's a clear, empty space. But there's also a small device, roughly the size of a USB drive, partially hidden behind a stack of resort paperwork. One of the technicians picks it up, turns it over, recognizes it immediately: audio recording device. Voice activated. Battery still showing 40% charge. They bag it as evidence. At 4:11 a.m., Sarah is transported to hospital for medical examination and treatment. Her injuries are documented. Contusion to left cheekbone, 2 centimeters in diameter, consistent with blunt force impact. Laceration to lower lip, 1 centimeter. Bleeding stopped. No other visible injuries. No defensive wounds on hands or arms. Rape kit performed at Sarah's request. Results later show recent sexual activity but no signs of assault. At 6:23 a.m., Sarah is released from hospital and transported to police headquarters for formal interview. The interrogation room is small. Concrete walls painted institutional beige. 1 metal table, 3 chairs, a camera mounted in the corner. Sarah sits across from Detective Maria Salazar, 43 years old, 16 years with Cabo San Lucas Police, specializing in violent crimes and domestic incidents. Detective Salazar has already reviewed the crime scene photos, the 911 call recording, and the preliminary medical examiner report. She has questions. The interview begins at 7:14 a.m. Detective Salazar reads Sarah her rights in English. Sarah confirms she understands. Declines a lawyer. Says she wants to help, wants to tell them what happened. Detective Salazar. Take me through the evening. Start from dinner. Sarah. We had dinner at the resort restaurant. Around 7 o'clock. David was upset because we'd had a fight earlier. We barely talked during dinner. After, we went back to the room. Around 9:30, I told him I wanted a divorce. Detective Salazar. You told your husband of 6 days that you wanted a divorce? Sarah. Yes. Detective Salazar. Why? Sarah. Because I made a mistake. I shouldn't have married him. I realized that on this trip. Detective Salazar. How did he react? Sarah. He didn't believe me. He thought I was stressed. He said we'd talk in the morning. But I couldn't be in that room with him. I left. Around 11:30. Detective Salazar. Where did you go? Sarah hesitates. 2 seconds. Then, to see Carlos. Carlos Mendoza. The resort manager. Detective Salazar. Why? Sarah. Because we'd been seeing each other. Since day 4 of the honeymoon. Detective Salazar. You were having an affair. Sarah. Yes. Detective Salazar. And David didn't know? Sarah. Not until last night. He followed me to Carlos's room. Room 714. He knocked on the door around 12:30. Detective Salazar. Around 12:30? Or exactly 12:30? Sarah. I don't know exactly. I wasn't looking at a clock. Detective Salazar. What happened when he knocked? Sarah. Carlos opened the door. David saw me inside. He lost it. Started yelling. Carlos tried to calm him down, but he was out of control. He came at me. Grabbed my face. She touches her bruised cheek. He was screaming that I was a whore. That I ruined everything. Carlos got between us. Told David to calm down. David shoved him. Carlos shoved back. Then David picked up the lamp and... Her voice breaks. She's crying now. Detective Salazar. What did David do with the lamp? Sarah. He swung it at Carlos. Tried to hit him in the head. Carlos dodged it. They were fighting over the lamp. I was screaming at them to stop. Then David broke free and came at me with it. Raised it over his head. And Carlos grabbed him from behind. They struggled. David turned. Swung the lamp back at Carlos. Hit him in the shoulder. Carlos grabbed the lamp. They fought for it. Then Carlos got it away from him and... Detective Salazar. And what? Sarah. He hit David with it. David fell. Hit his head on the floor. We thought he was just... We didn't know he was... Detective Salazar. You thought he was unconscious? Sarah. Yes. Detective Salazar. Then what happened? Sarah. Carlos told me to go back to my room. Lock the door. He'd handle it. But I couldn't leave David. So I went into the hallway. He wasn't moving. There was blood. I tried to wake him up. He wouldn't wake up. Panicked. I went back to room 714. Carlos was packing his stuff. He said we had to call the police, but we needed to get our story straight first. He said if we told them the truth, that David attacked us, that Carlos defended us, we'd be okay. But we had to be consistent. Detective Salazar. So you rehearsed what to say? Sarah. He wanted to make sure I wouldn't forget anything. Because I was in shock. Detective Salazar. How long did this rehearsal take? Sarah. I don't know. Maybe 20 minutes. Detective Salazar. And then what? Sarah. Then Carlos said he had to go. That if he stayed, it would look bad. Like he was running from the scene. But if he left before we called, then came back later, it would look like he didn't know it was serious. He told me to wait 30 minutes, then call 911. He said to say I didn't know where he went. That he ran because he was scared. Detective Salazar leans forward. Sarah. I need you to be very clear about this. You're saying Carlos told you to wait 30 minutes before calling for help. Sarah nods. Detective Salazar, did you wait 30 minutes? Sarah, I think so. I don't know. I wasn't watching the time. I was sitting in the hallway with David and I was trying to figure out if he was breathing and I lost track. Detective Salazar, the 911 call came at 2:34 a.m. The medical examiner estimates David died between 1 o'clock and 2 a.m. The incident, based on noise complaints from neighboring rooms, occurred around 12:50 to 1 a.m. That means you waited between 1.5 to 2 hours to call for help. Sarah's face goes white. No, that's not. I didn't wait that long. It was maybe 30 minutes. 45 at most. Detective Salazar. Sarah, your husband was dying in that hallway for almost 2 hours while you and Carlos decided how to tell the story. Sarah. No, we didn't know he was dying. We thought he was unconscious. Carlos said head wounds bleed a lot, but David would probably be okay. Detective Salazar. Where's the nightgown you were wearing? Sarah. What? Detective Salazar. When police arrived, you were wearing a white resort robe, blood-soaked, but witnesses say you were wearing a different robe earlier in the evening. And when we searched room 714, we found a black swimsuit and a white robe. So you changed clothes at some point. Where's what you were wearing during the incident? Sarah. I don't remember changing. Detective Salazar. You don't remember? Or you don't want to say? Sarah. I want a lawyer. The interview ends at 8:02 a.m. While Sarah is being interrogated, a team of officers searches Carlos Mendoza's employee quarters. Room 19 in the staff building, a single room with shared bathroom down the hall. The room is empty, bed stripped, closet empty, bathroom toiletries gone. The only things left behind: a resort uniform hanging on a hook and a phone charger still plugged into the wall. Carlos's car, a 2019 Nissan Sentra registered in his name, is gone from the employee parking lot. Security footage from the resort's rear entrance shows Carlos leaving at 12:59 a.m., carrying a large duffel bag, walking quickly to his car, driving away. He had less than a 3-minute head start before David was killed. Alert issued. Bolo for Carlos Javier Mendoza, 34 years old, 5 feet 10 inches, 180 pounds. Last seen driving a gray Nissan Sentra. License plate BCS 4782. Wanted for questioning in connection with the death of David Mitchell. Approach with caution. The search begins. May 17th, 9:43 a.m. Carlos's car is found in Todos Santos, a small tourist town 47 miles south of Cabo San Lucas. The car is parked behind a restaurant, unlocked, keys on the front seat. Security footage from a nearby bus station shows a man matching Carlos's description boarding a Aguila bus to La Paz at 5:22 a.m. He's wearing a baseball cap, sunglasses, carrying the same duffel bag seen in the resort footage. The bus company confirms. Ticket purchased with cash. No name recorded. Passenger got off at La Paz bus terminal at 7:08 a.m. From there, the trail goes cold. La Paz is a city of 250,000 people. Major airport. Ferry service to mainland Mexico. Dozens of bus routes to destinations across the country. Carlos could be anywhere. Interpol is notified. Alert sent to Mexican Federal Police, U.S. Border Patrol, all airports in northwestern Mexico. May 18, 2023. Crime scene technicians finish processing room 714. They find the audio recording device. They find Carlos's fingerprints on the wine glasses on the lamp on the door handle. They find Sarah's fingerprints in the same places. But they also find something else. Behind a desk drawer, a laptop. MSI model, several years old, password protected. The laptop is seized as evidence. Computer forensics specialist Maria Contreras cracks the password in 47 minutes. She opens the laptop, begins reviewing the contents. At 3:17 p.m., she calls Detective Salazar. You need to see this, right now. Detective Salazar arrives at the forensics lab at 3:44 p.m. Maria shows her the screen. A folder labeled SM. Inside, 247 image files. Screenshots of Instagram posts. All from the same account, Sarachin_29. The screenshots span from January 14, 2023 to May 7, 2023. Every single post Sarah made during that time period. Her engagement announcement, her wedding dress shopping, her bachelorette party, her wedding day, her honeymoon countdown. He was stalking her, Detective Salazar says. It gets worse, Maria says. She opens another file. A document titled Paraíso Plan.docs. Created January 19, 2023. Last modified May 14, 2023. The document contains a detailed timeline. Day 1 to 2, observation phase. Confirm patterns. Day 3, initial contact. Establish recognition. Day 4 to 5, escalation. Physical intimacy. Day 6, decision point. She chooses me or she loses choice. Day 7, resolution. Under resolution, a single line. If she won't leave him, he has to go. Detective Salazar reads it twice. This is premeditation. Maria nods. There's more. She opens another folder. Video files. 47 video files. Each one labeled with initials and a date. SM_051423.mov is the most recent. Maria clicks it open. The video shows room 714. The camera is positioned on the desk, angled toward the bed. Timestamp: May 14, 2023, 1:11 a.m. David Mitchell's body is in the hallway. He's been dead for approximately 15 minutes. In the video, Sarah is sitting on the bed, crying, shaking. Carlos is standing in front of her, holding his phone, recording her. Carlos: okay, we need to get this right. The police are going to ask you questions and you need to be consistent. Repeat after me. David attacked me. Sarah: David attacked me. Carlos: I was trying to stop him. Sarah: I was trying to stop him. Carlos: He wouldn't stop. He was going to kill me. Sarah: He wouldn't stop. He was going to kill me. Carlos: You stepped in to defend me. Sarah: You stepped in to defend me. Carlos: No, wait. Say, you stepped in to defend me and David turned on you. Sarah: You stepped in to defend me and David turned on you. Carlos: Good. Now with more emotion. You were terrified. Sarah does it again. This time crying harder, voice shaking. Carlos: Perfect. Remember that. Stick to that exact story. I'm going to run. You're going to wait exactly 30 minutes. Then call 911. Tell them you don't know where I went. Tell them I panicked and ran. Can you do that? Sarah nods. Carlos: Say it. Sarah: I can do that. Carlos: Good girl. The video ends. Detective Salazar stares at the screen. Her hands are shaking. This isn't self-defense. This is murder. And they rehearsed the cover-up while the victim was still bleeding out in the hallway. May 19, 2023, 11:47 a.m. Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell is arrested in her hospital room where she's been held under guard for observation. The charges: first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder under Mexican federal law. Detective Salazar reads the charges in English. Sarah, sedated and exhausted, barely reacts. Just closes her eyes when she hears the word murder. Her parents, Robert and Linda Chun, have been on a plane since 6 a.m., flying from Portland to Cabo San Lucas after receiving a call from the U.S. Embassy that their daughter's husband was dead and their daughter was a suspect. They land at 2:34 p.m. They're not allowed to see Sarah. By 6 p.m., the story has broken internationally. CNN: American honeymooner killed in Mexico, wife arrested. Fox News: Cabo murder, bride charged in husband's death. The New York Times: honeymoon tragedy raises questions about resort safety. The comment sections fill immediately. Half the commenters assume Sarah is guilty. Cheating wife, crime of passion. She deserves everything coming to her. The other half assume she's a victim, manipulated by predatory resort manager, clearly self-defense, Mexican police railroading an American woman. Nobody has seen the rehearsal video yet. May 23, 2023. After 4 days of diplomatic negotiations between U.S. and Mexican authorities, an agreement is reached. Sarah will be extradited to the United States to face charges in federal court. The agreement is unusual. Murder is typically prosecuted where it occurs, but David Mitchell was a U.S. citizen. Sarah Mitchell is a U.S. citizen, and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Oregon argues they have jurisdiction under the Maritime Drug Law Enforcement Act's provisions for crimes against U.S. nationals abroad. The real reason: the Mexican prosecutor knows this case will be a media circus, and Mexico doesn't want the international attention on their tourism industry. Better to let the Americans handle it. Sarah is transferred to U.S. custody on May 28, 2023. She's flown to Portland under guard, processed at Multnomah County Jail, assigned a public defender named Catherine Walsh, 41 years old, 12 years as a defense attorney, won 7 of her last 9 murder trials. Bail hearing, June 2, 2023. The prosecution argues Sarah is a flight risk with ties to Mexico through Carlos Mendoza, who is still at large. The defense argues Sarah has no criminal history, strong family ties, nowhere to run. The judge denies bail. Sarah will remain in custody until trial. Trial date set, January 8, 2024. Robert and Linda Chen mortgage their house to pay for Sarah's defense. They hire a private investigator to find Carlos Mendoza. They hire a jury consultant. They hire expert witnesses. They spend $340,000 before the trial even begins. David Mitchell's parents, Gerald and Patricia Mitchell, both retired teachers from Eugene, Oregon, speak to media outside the courthouse after the bail hearing. Gerald reads from a prepared statement, his voice shaking. "Our son was murdered on what should have been the happiest week of his life. Sarah Mitchell took him from us. She and her lover planned this. We will not rest until she pays for what she did." Patricia adds, off script, "She's a monster. Our son loved her and she killed him." The media runs that soundbite for 3 months. September 15, 2023. The prosecution files a motion to admit the rehearsal video as evidence. The defense files a motion to suppress it, arguing it was obtained without a warrant from a laptop that wasn't legally seized. Judge Marcus Brennan, 58 years old, appointed to federal bench in 2019, rules the laptop was abandoned property found in a crime scene. Therefore, no warrant was required. The video is admissible. Catherine Walsh knows her case just got exponentially harder. October 3, 2023. A break in the Carlos Mendoza manhunt. A woman in Guatemala City contacts the FBI tip line. She says a man matching Carlos's description is working at a resort called Vista Pacifica under the name Javier Cruz. She recognized him from news coverage. FBI coordinates with Guatemalan authorities. They raid the resort on October 7th. The man calling himself Javier Cruz is gone. Disappeared 3 days earlier. Employees say he quit suddenly, didn't give notice, didn't collect his last paycheck. Forensics find fingerprints in his employee quarters. They match Carlos Mendoza. He was there. He got tipped off somehow. He's gone again. November 18, 2023. Another sighting. This time in Medellin, Colombia. A bartender at a hostel popular with backpackers says a man matching Carlos's description stayed there for 2 weeks in October, paid cash, kept to himself. Security footage from the hostel shows a man who might be Carlos, but the angle is bad, the resolution is worse. FBI sends the footage to facial recognition. Results: 73% probability match. Not enough for confirmation. By December, the FBI has received 847 tips about Carlos Mendoza sightings. 41 are investigated. 0 lead to arrests. Carlos Mendoza has vanished. January 8, 2024. United States versus Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell begins in federal court in Portland, Oregon. Judge Brennan presiding. Jury selection takes 3 days. Final jury: 7 women, 5 men, ages ranging from 24 to 67, mix of occupations: teacher, engineer, retired nurse, barista, accountant, construction worker, social worker, graphic designer, bank teller, retail manager, IT specialist, small business owner. The prosecution is led by Assistant U.S. Attorney James Reeves, 46 years old, former Army JAG prosecutor, 34-2 record in murder trials. His opening statement is devastating. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about a woman who made a choice. Sarah Mitchell chose to marry David Mitchell on May 2, 2023. She chose to go on a honeymoon with him. She chose to have an affair with Carlos Mendoza 4 days into that honeymoon. She chose to tell her husband she wanted a divorce on day 6. And when her husband discovered her affair and confronted her and the man she was sleeping with, she and Carlos Mendoza chose to kill him. Not in self-defense. Not in the heat of passion. They killed him, and then they spent 98 minutes cleaning up the crime scene and rehearsing their lies before calling 911. The evidence will show you that David Mitchell was struck 4 times with an 8-pound marble lamp. The evidence will show you that the final blow was delivered to the back of his head while he was already incapacitated. The evidence will show you that Sarah Mitchell and Carlos Mendoza recorded a video practicing their story while David lay dying in the hallway. This is not self-defense. This is murder. And Sarah Mitchell is guilty. Catherine Walsh's opening is emotional, focusing on Sarah as victim. Sarah Mitchell made mistakes. She will be the first to admit that. She should not have had an affair. She should not have married David when she had doubts. But making mistakes is not the same as committing murder. The evidence will show you that Carlos Mendoza is a predator who has targeted vulnerable women for years. The evidence will show you that he stalked Sarah for months before she ever arrived at that resort. The evidence will show you that he manipulated her, isolated her. And when David Mitchell discovered what was happening and became violent, Carlos Mendoza killed him. Not Sarah. Carlos. Sarah was in shock. She was traumatized. She did what Carlos told her to do because she was terrified. And now Carlos Mendoza is free while Sarah Mitchell sits in jail for a crime he committed. The trial lasts 11 weeks. Prosecution presents 87 pieces of evidence. The rehearsal video played in court 6 times. Every time it plays, Sarah cries. The jury watches her cry. Some jurors cry too. Others look disgusted. The audio recording from room 714 played in full. The jury hears Sarah and Carlos having sex. They hear Sarah say, "I told him I want a divorce." They hear Carlos say, "I've done this before." The crime scene photos. David's body. The blood. The lamp. The jury sees everything. Dr. Ramon Herrera's testimony about the wounds. He uses a model skull to demonstrate the 4 impact sites. He explains that the first blow to the right temple would have been disorienting. The second blow to the right parietal bone would have caused loss of consciousness. The third blow to the back of the skull was unnecessary. David was already down. The fourth blow to the left parietal bone was overkill. The prosecution asks, "In your expert opinion, was this self-defense?" Dr. Herrera, "No. The pattern of injuries suggests continued assault after the victim was no longer a threat." The Pareso plan document from Carlos's laptop. The timeline. The escalation strategy. The line, "If she won't leave him, he has to go." Sarah's Instagram posts and Carlos's saved screenshots, shown side by side. The prosecution argues this proves premeditation. Carlos was planning this for months. The 98-minute gap between the incident and the 911 call. The prosecution brings in forensic psychologist Dr. Alan Chun, no relation to Sarah, who testifies. A person in genuine shock and fear for their life calls for help immediately. They don't wait 98 minutes. They don't rehearse their story. These actions indicate consciousness of guilt. Text messages recovered from Sarah's phone, deleted but retrieved through carrier records. May 13th, 2:17 p.m. "I wish I'd never married him." Sent to a Mexican number later confirmed as Carlos's burner phone. Defense presents 43 pieces of evidence. Carlos Mendoza's employment history, showing he was fired or forced to resign from 3 resorts for inappropriate conduct. The defense argues this establishes a pattern of predatory behavior. Testimony from the two women who signed NDAs in 2014 and 2016, Monica and Sophie. Both testify that Carlos pursued them aggressively, made them feel special, then turned manipulative when they tried to end things. Monica testifies, "He made me believe he loved me. Then when I wanted to leave my fiancé for him, he threatened me. He said if I told anyone about us, he'd say I forced myself on him." Testimony from Dr. Lisa Tran, psychologist specializing in coercive control and trauma bonding. She testifies, "Sarah exhibits classic signs of being victimized by a sophisticated manipulator. The rehearsal video, which the prosecution presents as evidence of guilt, I see as evidence of control. Carlos was directing her, coaching her, using her traumatized state to shape her behavior." Character witnesses for Sarah. Her best friend Emily. "Sarah is the kindest person I know. She would never hurt anyone. She was terrified of Carlos after David died." Her mother Linda. "My daughter is not a murderer. She was manipulated by a predator." The laptop folder with 47 videos of other women. The defense argues this proves Carlos has done this before. Targeted women, manipulated them, possibly harmed their partners. Though the content of the other videos isn't shown in court, many are consensual intimate recordings. The existence of the folder establishes pattern. And finally, Sarah's own testimony. She takes the stand on February 14, 2024. Valentine's Day. The irony is not lost on anyone. She testifies for 2 days. Admits the affair. Admits telling David she wanted a divorce. Admits going to Carlos's room that night. But she denies planning David's murder. "I never wanted David dead. I just wanted to be free from a marriage I shouldn't have entered. When David showed up at Carlos's door, I was scared. David was angry in a way I'd never seen before. He grabbed my face so hard I thought he'd break my jaw. Carlos got between us to protect me. David picked up the lamp. He swung it at Carlos. They fought over it. I was screaming for them to stop. Then David got the lamp and came at me with it. Carlos grabbed him from behind. They struggled. The lamp hit David. David fell. We didn't know he was dead. Carlos told me he was probably just unconscious. That head wounds bleed a lot, but he'd be okay. Then Carlos said we had to call the police, but we needed to get our story straight because if we told them about the affair, they might not believe it was self-defense. I was in shock. I did what he told me because I didn't know what else to do." James Reeves cross-examines her for 6 hours. "Ms. Mitchell, you testified that David grabbed your face so hard you thought he'd break your jaw. But the medical examination shows only minor bruising. Does that seem consistent with the level of violence you described?" It felt harder than it was, maybe. I was scared." You testified that David swung the lamp at Carlos. But the crime scene shows no blood spatter consistent with a missed swing. No impact marks on the walls from a swinging lamp. Doesn't that suggest your story is false? I don't know about blood spatter patterns. I just know what I saw. You testified you didn't know David was dead. But you sat in that hallway for 98 minutes. At what point during those 98 minutes did you check if he was breathing? I don't remember. You don't remember? Or you didn't check? I was in shock. You were in shock. But you were able to rehearse your story for Carlos's camera. You were able to change your clothes. You were able to help clean up room 714. The room that was wiped down, the bed that was stripped, the wine glasses that had your fingerprints removed. That was done during those 98 minutes while your husband lay dying. Were you in shock during that too? I didn't clean anything. That was Carlos. But you were there. You were in the room while it happened. And you didn't call for help. Sarah has no answer. The jury deliberates for 6 days. January 27, 2024. 3:47 p.m. The verdict. The jury finds Sarah Mitchell guilty of second-degree murder. Not guilty of first-degree murder. They don't believe she premeditated it. Not guilty of conspiracy. They don't believe she and Carlos explicitly planned David's death ahead of time. But guilty of second-degree murder. They believe she participated in David's death and the cover-up. The judge sets sentencing for March 15, 2024. Sarah's parents sob in the courtroom. Gerald and Patricia Mitchell embrace, crying with relief. March 15, 2024. Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell is sentenced to 18 years to life in federal prison. Eligible for parole in 2042. She will be 47 years old. She's transported to Federal Correctional Institution Dublin in California. Carlos Mendoza is still missing. February 12, 2025. 10 months after Sarah's conviction, a package arrives at the FBI field office in San Diego. Brown padded envelope, no return address, postmarked from Tijuana, Mexico. Inside a USB drive. The agent who opens it, Special Agent Diana Mercado, expects it to be a crank. They get dozens of fake tips on high-profile cases. She plugs it into an air-gapped computer. Opens the drive. 47 video files. She clicks the first one. Dated March 15, 2017. The video shows a resort room. A woman, approximately 30 years old, sitting on a bed, crying. A man's voice off camera, Carlos Mendoza's voice. Tell me again why you love me. The woman repeats it. He coaches her response. Makes her say it different ways. Agent Mercado opens the next video. Different woman. Same pattern. Next video. Different woman. Same pattern. By the 10th video, Agent Mercado calls her supervisor. By the 20th video, they've called the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit. All 47 videos show the same thing. Carlos Mendoza with different women in different resort rooms across 7 years. Some of the women are aware they're being recorded. Most aren't, the camera is hidden. Some of the videos are sexual. Some are manipulative coaching sessions like the rehearsal video with Sarah. And in 6 of the videos, women mention their partners becoming suspicious or angry or violent. One video, dated March 14, 2021, shows a woman identified later as Melissa Tran, 28, from San Francisco. She's crying. Carlos's voice. Jordan doesn't deserve you. He's holding you back. Melissa. But I can't just leave him. Carlos. What if something happened to him? What if he wasn't in the picture anymore? Melissa. What do you mean? Carlos. Just hypothetically. Would you stay with me then? Melissa. I don't know. This is crazy. Carlos. It's not crazy. It's destiny. For days later, on March 18, 2021, Jordan Hughes, Melissa's fiancé, drowned while swimming off a beach in Cancun. Ruled accidental. Melissa Tran left Mexico the next day. She was never questioned beyond routine witness statement. The FBI reopens the case immediately. They track down Melissa Tran in Oakland, California. She's now married to someone else, has a 1-year-old daughter. When agents show her the video, she goes pale. I didn't know he was recording me. Ms. Tran, we need to ask you about Jordan Hughes's death. It was an accident. Jordan went swimming drunk. He drowned. Jordan's toxicology report showed no alcohol in his system. Melissa starts crying. I wasn't there. I was at the resort. Where was Carlos Mendoza? He said he was at the resort too. He said he didn't even know Jordan went to the beach until I got the call. But hotel security footage from that day, reviewed now for the first time in 4 years, shows Carlos Mendoza leaving the resort at 2:17 p.m. The same time Jordan Hughes was last seen alive. Carlos returned at 4:02 p.m. Jordan's body was found at 4:23 p.m. Melissa Tran is offered immunity in exchange for her full testimony. She tells them everything. She met Carlos on day 2 of her vacation. He pursued her. They had an affair. She fell in love with him, told him she wanted to leave Jordan. Carlos encouraged it. But Jordan found out about the affair, confronted Carlos, threatened to report him to resort management. The next day, Jordan drowned. After Jordan died, Carlos told Melissa she needed to leave Mexico immediately, that if she stayed, police might suspect her. He said he'd figure out a way for them to be together later. She believed him. She left. He never contacted her again. The FBI identifies 3 more suspicious deaths connected to Carlos Mendoza's employment history. Marcus Freeman, 32, died in a hiking accident in Tulum, October 2019. His girlfriend, Vanessa Cole, had been having an affair with Carlos. Marcus found out, confronted Carlos. 3 days later, Marcus fell from a cliff during a guided hike. Vanessa left Mexico within 24 hours. Tim Bradshaw, 29, died of accidental overdose in Puerto Vallarta, July 2018. His wife, Amanda Bradshaw, had been having an affair with Carlos. Tim discovered it. 2 days later, Tim was found dead in his hotel room from what appeared to be self-administered fentanyl. Amanda claimed Tim had been depressed. She left Mexico within 48 hours. In all 3 cases, Carlos Mendoza was working at the resort. In all 3 cases, he had been having an affair with the deceased man's partner. In all 3 cases, the deaths were ruled accidental or self-inflicted. In all 3 cases, the women left Mexico immediately and never spoke about what happened. The FBI believes Carlos Mendoza has killed at least 4 men, possibly more, and he's still out there. As of this writing, Carlos Javier Mendoza remains on the FBI's most wanted list. Last confirmed sighting, October 2023, Guatemala City. Reward for information leading to his capture, $100,000. Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell remains incarcerated at FCI Dublin. Her appeal was denied in November 2024. She has participated in prison education programs, earned an associate degree in psychology. She writes letters to her parents weekly. They visit monthly. She has never revealed where Carlos might be hiding. She claims she doesn't know. Gerald and Patricia Mitchell visit their son's grave every Sunday. The headstone reads, David Andrew Mitchell, beloved son, taken too soon. And somewhere in the world, possibly working at another resort under another name, Carlos Mendoza is watching someone's Instagram, saving screenshots, making plans. The cycle continues.